Hello and welcome to Tech Talk, a Podaholiks podcast with Andrew Thomas from DigitalNexa.com and myself, James Pikeway. For the next hour, we're talking tech, and we've got a great review of the HuaweiP30Pro, who we dropped on Richard Cawood, photographer extraordinaire, Second Light Photography. You want to check him out on the socials. He played with it for a couple of weeks, and you know what? You're going to love to hear his response. An avid Apple user using a Huawei Android product. You might be surprised. Tech Talk's the program. Let's get to it. There we go.
Good opening.
You like that?
Yeah.
I've got another one
if
too.
You could start that with every show. Like a big lean back on your chair. There's a great bit of comedian, I think, says that when you're young, those kind of noises are usually from the bedroom. But when you get older, those noises come out of you. But when you're getting out of the chair, it's like, ooh, like that. Leaning over to get the remote. Ooh, like that. So, yeah, usually when you're younger, it's behind closed doors.
No, but you're praying when you're leaning over to get the remote that you don't take out your back.
Exactly. Brutal. Yeah.
We're at that age. It's happening.
Yeah, totally. It's frightening.
Right. It's absolutely frightening. Hey, I wanna jump in really quick with the P30 Pro Huawei.
Yes, nice.
Which is a dilemma for many people because Huawei's got extremely bad press.
Yeah, in the States.
Well, in Canada.
In North America?
Well, because Canada is where Meng Zhou
has been arrested.
Where she is in under
CFO.
Extradition hearings are happening now.
Meanwhile, she didn't have one Huawei product on.
Yeah, go figure that one out, right?
And they're banned. I mean, Huawei employees are not allowed to have Apple or kind of Android devices, and all this kind of stuff. And there they were. She had all Apple.
Yeah, go figure that one, right?
Yeah.
So, and then there's the 5G dilemma.
Yes.
Where people are extremely worried that they've got backdoors in all this stuff. And I'm listening to this and I'm going, Edward Snowden? All I keep saying in my head is Edward Snowden. He wasn't working for the Chinese.
No.
He was actually working for the U.S. government, and then
that's it. Well, he's over in Russia now, right?
Well, now he's living in Russia, and I'm kind of going.
Time to get the tinfoil hats on.
Yeah, I'm kind of going, and you look at all of the different softwares that we have on our computers.
The thing is that people just believe that companies are not collecting data on them. They are.
Yeah.
So, it's simple as that.
Yeah.
So, all your social networks, all of your apps that you got on your phone.
I use LinkedIn all the time, and if I go and search something on LinkedIn, next thing you know, I'm getting information on all that stuff. Exactly. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
So I think they're getting, and maybe there's something legit there, but I honestly think that people are naive, and if they really think that the Chinese are going to close down their systems, why wouldn't any government close down your systems? And I think if we believe that the Russian government has had any hand in influencing opinion in American elections and other places, you can see that things can happen if you believe that. Yeah. So I just think really. But anyway, 5G. Speaking of 5G and Huawei, there was an announcement today. Came a cloaked announcement, and I heard it on one of the radio stations. I can't even remember which one it was. That the UAE government. Oh no, it was this morning. Etisalat, and in fact, it was Radio 1.
Right.
Etisalat is going to be rolling out 5G in collaboration with a Chinese company that has not been named.
Amazing.
And I'm thinking, So
the only thing getting to this point. There was that big shift from 3G to 4G.
Yeah.
The whole point is as well that you should be able to take a call and use the data at the same time, which doesn't work here.
No.
Right, first and foremost. But I wonder, do we want anything faster? Because at the end of the day, it's all down to your data consumption.
Yeah.
So
great. Chewing through data.
Exactly, great. I can download data faster than I can at my home device. But guess what? I've got a 2 gig limit. Yeah. So What are you looking at?
Well,
here,
and that's the fine print that you've got to read. Yeah, you've got unlimited data, or you've got
up to 2 gig.
But there's a limit. Yeah. Speaking of great news, got upgraded Wi-Fi at the home.
Oh yeah, I did that for cheaper.
Yeah. And so I call the guy up, and he's looking at my account. And he's going, when did you get your Wi-Fi originally? I said, I got fiber. I don't know,
2001.
Yeah, something like that. And he's going, they don't even sell that. And you're so slow.
Yeah.
Like I go, I know it's painful. And he's going, you might as well have a modem dial up. So they came and did all the shing bang and changed it.
Super duper fast now.
Oh man, 10 times faster.
Nice.
I went from, I think I had, I've got like 20 meg now upload.
Okay.
From 0.2 meg upload, and 100 times different on downloading.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, this is fantastic.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that.
I've been over your place. I didn't find any problem with it. You get what you used to, right?
Yeah.
So you got a 16-inch TV, and you're like, this is huge. And then 1 week in, you're going, I think we should be looking at 100-inch. That's
so
what you get used to.
I just noticed it if you're doing any, well, hey, we upload Podaholiks stuff, and if I was trying to upload anything to YouTube, it used to take forever. Where now it's kind of like, okay, 5 minutes, whereas it used to take me 5 hours.
Nice.
So it's kind of like, okay, this is good.
Sweet. Yeah, Amit very recently stopped his BlackBerry service. He was one of those individuals that still had a roaming package in place.
Really?
Yeah, for like 199 dirhams for unlimited roaming global. But we've all kind of moved across to one phone with this XR, and even the guy at Tislak was like, "Are you sure you want to give this up? This is like." People, pay for these kind of services, but he's like, no, it's it. BlackBerry's done kind of stuff. So,
well, I was playing around with the Huawei.
Go back to Huawei.
The Huawei P30
Tell
Pro.
us the Huawei.
So here's the thing. I like Huawei products.
Yeah.
And so I'm like 100% biased because I just think that I just like the way the phone works. It's an Android product. I've migrated over to Android. Yeah. I like it. It's got 6.4 7-inch screen. I mean, it's a big
beast
phone. Little things I was kind of, and when you start looking at that, it's got, huge battery, 8 gigabyte RAM, like all of that kind of stuff. When you start looking at it, 4.2 microamperes is the size of that battery. I mean, that's 4,200 MAs. I mean, that's a huge battery. And this is one of the things that I got to say about the Huawei products. Is when I sit around at school and I've got students who are always looking for a charger and they're using a lot of media and I'm using a lot of media, my phone never runs out in a day. And I'm watching stuff, I'm filming stuff, I'm working with it. So big battery, nice big screen, that whole aspect of the phone, you can put in more memory if you want to. It comes already stacked with a lot of memory, so it's not a big issue. But I'm not so sure this is as really a phone anymore.
Okay.
And this is where it became interesting because you start looking at the camera on this thing. You've got a 40 megapixel front end camera. You've got a plus 50 zoom that's digital zoom. You got 10 times optical zoom. You got a wide angle lens.
You got a 32 meg selfie camera.
Yeah.
I don't know who needs to be that focused. But
so it's all these kind of things going together. Like this is almost a camera. And in fact, it really just does become a camera. So as I was playing with the phone and I was, I've been using the P20 Pro and I like it. And someone said, are you going to move up? I said, I'm happy with the phone I got now. It really works well. And so I thought, okay, what really makes this phone work? It's the camera. So what I did is I gave the phone, see, I'm even calling it camera, gave the phone to Richard Cawood, who is Second Light Photography. If you look it up, 2ND Second Light Photography on Insta.
Yeah.
And I said, go play with it. And it was interesting.
He's an iPhone user, right?
He's an iPhone user. He's a multimedia designer. He is Mac through to the bone. Like this is his life. Although when he does shoot professional photography, he uses a Sony.
Right.
And he's using top of the line Sony mirrorless job. So it was kind of neat. But he picked it up and he, first thing he did is what everyone does, rolls it around in your hand, says, it feels pretty firm. It looks pretty good. It's got a big screen. It's nice optics, the way LED. This, all those things, all the superficial things, looking at the color of the case.
Yeah.
He's right off the bat, he's going, this is a good phone. Feels nice. But it's Android. And so he turned it on and instantly he's got some issues because he's used to an iPhone.
Yeah.
He's using an iPhone 10 an iPhone X. So he's going, these buttons on the bottom of the screen. So he's got to get used to the operating system. And at first he's kind of going, there's rumbling.
Yeah.
And so ultimately I said, well, keep the phone, keep using it. And he kept using it and kept using it. And by the time he was done, he actually really liked it. He was like, hold on, this thing actually works. He wasn't using it as a phone though. So he wasn't using it to surf. He wasn't using the apps. He was using it as a photographic tool.
Right.
And he didn't load any photo apps into it. He was just shooting with the camera. Okay. He wasn't playing around with anything. Well, in fact, don't let me keep talking about it. Let's have a listen to my conversation with Richard and what he said about the P30 Pro. So the issue that I always run into is that I actually like the Huawei products. So when I get an opportunity to play around with a new phone or a laptop or a wearable, I sometimes feel that I might actually be a little bit predisposed to the product because, like so many people who are using iPhones or who are using Samsung or are using LG, they just like them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, so I've been shooting on the iPhone since version 1, right? And it's been a curve. It's been a slow, steady curve. And there's been, every year, obviously, the hounds are at the gate, and there's a new product on the market that's trying to cannibalize Apple's market share. And the new cameras offer certain features that Apple do not. And Apple...
And you're a photographer to start with. You're a portrait photographer who shoots on Sony.
Yeah, so I wasn't always a portrait photographer, but when I did get into it, I switched from Canon to a whole different system, mirrorless, different operating system. There's a curve. And so there was some similarity here with this, right? So I'm a person who uses my iPhone as probably my number one camera because of just its portable nature. My two Sonys normally stay at home unless I'm planning to shoot something. But it was similar, going from Canon to Sony, going from iPhone to Huawei, and trying to get my mind around the menu system.
And this is where it becomes interesting for me for two reasons. First, I'm interested in your take on using a Huawei P30Pro because you're an iPhone user.
Yep.
Second, I'm very interested in your take on the Huawei P30Pro because you take photos, and while you're navigating the Android operating system, while you're navigating a new phone, all these things, when I look at phones today, they're really just stripped down cameras in a phone sense. They're a phone that's stripped up with a camera, and in a Canon or a Nikon or a Sony sense, they're a stripped down camera that's now been put onto a phone.
Yep.
So I wanted to get your take as an Apple user going to an Android product and as a photographer using a phone that is being billed as having a pretty sweet camera setup.
Sure. So using the iPhone for the number of years I've used it, you get into a bit of a pathway as to how you use it, right? So I kind of use the default camera app. I use other apps to shoot in RAW. I have a post-processing pathway that I use all the time consistently on my iPhone. I do app stacking, so I jump from one app to another and do certain effects and then pop things into whether they're going to my Flickr or my Instagram. There's different processes for that. And so I'm very familiar with that.
And you're very familiar doing that on your iPhone.
Very familiar with the iPhone, very familiar with the UI, the experience, the operating system, how to get files from that to my machines and vice versa. And so just like I don't in my real world use PCs, I don't generally use anything Android. In fact, the only Android thing I think I have and we use consistently in our family is the TLC television because it's got an Android OS, right? Which works fine. It's almost invisible. But confronted with a phone that feels very similar in size and weight to my iPhone 10X Max, was different because I'm looking at it and I'm trying to wrap my head around, once it's on, how do I navigate this system? And then once you're in the camera app, you then start to see there's a giant difference between these two platforms currently.
So what was your first thought when you took this thing out of the box, being that you've gone from Gen 1 iPhone to where you are now, and you've got the P30 in your hand, and people are talking about it. They're saying, hey, this is a pretty sweet rig. What were your thoughts?
I mean, when you hold it in your hand, it doesn't feel cheap. It feels like a solidly made piece of technology. That's oftentimes one of these things that you sometimes notice with, I don't want to say secondary brands, because actually I believe currently, stats-wise, Huawei in the mobile market are number 2 with market share. They've gone beyond Apple at this point really quickly. And so it's a solid piece of kit. It has all the bells and whistles you might be used to, even though they may not be where you're used to having them.
Which is the big issue when you move from platform to platform.
Yes. It is powered by USB-C, so that was a change, right? It still doesn't have the regular headphone jack that we were so used to for all that time.
I want one back. Like I really want it back.
Yeah, I think maybe the audience will demand it, and something will happen, because otherwise, I mean, if not, obviously all these tech companies are becoming dongle developers, right? And so they're happy making money off all the dongles they sell. Yeah. But with this in the hand, it feels good when you turn it on. The screen is bright. It does have a bit of a curve on the edge, and I'm not 100% sure if it's OLED, but there is some dimming on the edge. But generally speaking...
Yeah, it absolutely is an OLED.
Yep. But generally speaking, that's nothing that deters you from the experience. When you actually go into the camera, which is where I was spending most of my time, I didn't really explore any other apps on the phone. And I didn't install any apps that I was used to from my iOS experience. But when you go into it, obviously it looks similar to other phone-based camera systems. But the thing that jumps out to you straight away, and for me, which was an interesting thing to see, because I'm so used to buying peripherals for my equipment. And so for my iPhone, I have bought into the Moment lens system. So they're a company from California. You have to buy a special case, and you have to buy additional lenses to give the camera multiple looks. And so I have a fisheye lens and a wide lens and a telephoto from that company. And they're all over $100 each just for those lenses. And then like $30 for the case. So that's an investment. But this one has a wide-angle lens built directly in.
Which is kind of cool.
It's kind of cool. And
did you find it worked as one would expect a wide angle to work, given that it's built into the phone?
I would say yes. I mean, I think if you're a photographer and you're familiar with using different lens manufacturers and types and price points, when you start to go wide, the glass on the edge can get fringy, and you can get distortions, and you can get vignetting, and there's some of that happens. But to be able to just swipe and go ultra wide and get the vista you couldn't see before in camera, in your mobile, in your pocket, it's a pretty profound thing. And I think that there's a lot of features in here that are going to be knocking on the doors of Apple, either in what they can do with the software or what they're going to do with the hardware in future iterations.
Do you think, from your sense of what Apple does, and I mean, you follow Apple pretty closely, do you think that Huawei, Samsung making these leaps are going to really push the next gen of an iPhone?
Well, if I put my Apple hat on and I turn into Tim Cook, Apple will tell you they work in very specific areas for a reason, and they're moving at their own pace, and they're trying to create the best product. I guess the question I would have, having had this in my hands for a couple of weeks now, is what does that mean, right? This is a mass market device. This isn't even though it's positioned as a Pro, it's a mass market device, right? And so what does that mass market want? Well, if I'm a mum or a dad or just an average person traveling around, I am getting to the point where, and we see it with manufacturers of regular DSLRs and mirrorless cameras, that people want portability, right? And if I have an all-in-one in my pocket, I'm happy. And if there's some, issues with maybe the quality not being just there that I might be used to, the fact that it's an all-in-one, I might ignore some of those issues. And I think there were some issues that I saw as I related to my iPhone, but there's certain things my iPhone can't do that this will do. And I found myself trying to push this camera to shoot photographs just to see what it was capable of doing. And I found myself also, because when I travel around, being a person who takes a lot of photographs, I'm often seeing photographs and thinking, I'd like to take a photo of that, and I'd like to take a photo of that.
How many times have you been in a situation where you get out your device and you want to take a photo, and you see the photo and the device can't capture the
and
photo.
So I'll put a mental note and say I've got to come back with my other camera. Whereas with this, I would see something, and just on the way to work this morning, I saw something and thought, let me try and get that. And because of the range of the zoom from wide to 50x, there's things you can do. I took photos of the downtown Dubai from my balcony, which, yes, were pixelated and were fuzzy, and it's hard to keep everything where you want it at that range with a mobile device, not on a tripod. But at the same time, to be able to do that with this device it's a game changer in lots of ways. And I know we talked, and I said, I think that, given a couple of years' time when these things mature, it's going to be interesting to see what we are able to do with these devices in our pockets, and how quickly Apple may or may not adjust to the forces that are coming from the companies in China and other parts of the world, in Korea, who are doing things at a more rapid pace. And will this mean that in the future, I don't think it's strange to look at the back of this camera now and see all these lenses, right? And, is it we're going to be at the place where we have 4 or 5 or 6 lenses built into the back of a camera, so it does absolutely everything? We've seen with Samsung, they're pushing boundaries in different areas with different technologies and bendable phones and things at this point. With this Huawei being positioned as a pro camera, I think there's so many things in it that are really compelling for somebody who is interested in having an all-in-one device with a great camera system and some of the features they've built into it, which will enable you to improve your photography that you can't currently get on the Apple platform.
So walk me through what you liked about the phone, and then we'll talk about what you didn't like about the phone. Again, we're primarily talking photography.
Sure. So obviously, first thing is just I'm not an Android person, so I had to get used to what the buttons meant.
How long did it take you to get used to that? You've had it a couple of weeks now.
Yeah, it was a few days of just really like, okay, that means I'm going to go here, this means I'm going to go home, so on and so forth. But the actual device itself, so it's got all of the traditional areas you might have with your iPhone, but you've got some additional ones. So there's an aperture setting, which you can really start to control the overall look and feel of the images you produce. There's a night setting, which is really interesting because what it does, using the stabilization and AI built in, it'll shoot multiple shots, almost like a high dynamic range shot that you might get on the Apple, but it'll shoot a lot more images and put together something in camera that can enable you to get dark shadow detail, as well as your blown out skies will get some detail retained in them. So that was compelling. The portrait mode, again, Apple have the portrait mode. The portrait mode on this one I found had some benefits because I have the ability to shoot in portrait mode, which is going to be that nice shallow depth of field, separate out my foreground from my background. But additionally, I can change my vantage point with my virtual lens setting with the swipe. And so I managed to get some photographs that I don't think I could have got with my iPhone currently. And I love the portrait mode on the iPhone. So it was interesting to see that. One thing that was really compelling to look at and think about what the camera is doing is that there is some AI built directly in. And you as the photographer can decide whether or not you want to use this master AI switch.
Did you find yourself turning it off or leaving it on?
Well, I like to see what they do, so I was doing a bit of both, right? And so with it on, from what I understand, they have 500 variants of areas that it looks at. And so it analyzes your image and does some auto magic, I guess, to try to improve these photographs. And whether it's figuring out color balance or shade, or whether you're shooting in sunset or sky or people and all of those things, it starts to use the power of AI to improve the images. And sometimes it works really well, sometimes not. But again, this is early stages of this being something you're carrying in your pocket and able to do that. So that was really compelling to look and see what it was doing. I did find that at certain times, when I was using the on-screen UI to change my zoom feature from going all the way from wide to 50x and in between, that there were times when it struggled, and what I composed and what I shot seemed to be different. And I didn't look at the time whether that was because AI was turned on, it was doing some post work. But again, I think that's one of those things that, because I've had so many years using iPhone, it's really hard to make that quick mental adjustment, right? But I could perceive using this for 6 months and not missing the iPhone at all until obviously Apple released another one. Then you want to jump ship again, right?
That's pretty significant.
It is. I was very surprised. I mean, when I knew this
like 2
phone
weeks ago, I wouldn't have expected to hear that from you as you were talking, day 2 in of playing with the 2, and 2 weeks later, that's pretty telling.
Well, I liken it to just time on task, right? So it's like the more I used it, the less I fought with it, and the more I could figure out how I could harness it, right? And so those were things that I think initially I was like looking at this strange thing with this strange language, this strange operating system, thinking, how am I going to use this? I feel like I'm going to be struggling. But when I saw the benefits of some of the features built in, I thought, you know what, it's really compelling as a tool. Now, I don't want to be one of those people that carries around 2 cameras, but I could see that being the case, isn't it? Right? I could see that being the case. But as a device, I think they're onto something with a really winning formula here, and I'm really interested to see where it's going to go. Just because of this little kind of glimpse I've seen with the images I've took. I've been posting to my socials. I've been hashtagging them with the HuaweiP. They're on my Second Light. They're actually on my Photographing Dubai Instagram page. And I'm hashtagging them with the HuaweiP30Pro tag. And it's interesting to see how many people are jumping to this platform and running with it. And I think the only obstacle I have faced really has nothing to do with the creative side of this device. It is just being reprogramming my brain to a different operating system. And I think once you do that and you work out those kinks, you can see some real benefits of jumping to a platform like this. A simple thing for me, for instance, from the phone, which works, I'll say about 90% of the time, is AirDrop. If I want to send something from my phone to my laptop to be able to do some work in Photoshop, I'll AirDrop it. Well, there's a feature on here that works like that, but didn't want to connect with any of my devices.
Right. And I think that AirDrop that you're talking about on the Huawei works on Huawei devices.
Yes. And then when I try to wire it to my laptop, there's a third-party Android software that enables you to connect to the phone. And then you're wired straight in, and dragging and dropping of a USB-C was like seconds. It was really quick. So I know that if I were to hardwire my phone for some reason to my computer on my Mac and use Photos to bring those images in, it's a little more cumbersome. And so there were some wins there once I'd figured out the pathway through. I didn't check out on this any video stabilization. I was really looking at the photo side of things, so that's something that would be of interest to explore, because I know this is something that is becoming more as a regular built-in feature to our devices, whether it be software-related or hardware-related stabilization. But I can imagine that, if I were to look at these 2 cameras side by side and look at the images, while I'm going to see certain things related to the colors, because the color palette's going to be slightly different between the 2, I'm not going to look at them and say, the iPhone is a far superior product with the image, which is something that surprises me, because I've been an Apple iPhone photographer through and through for the longest time. And so to have this device in hand and think, this is a really compelling device and something I would, if I were in the market for a new phone, it would be something that I would seriously consider, even given the Android side of the house, which is still something very unfamiliar to me.
Wow. That's pretty surprising, actually.
It is, but again,
but I guess that's the power of the technology.
It's the power of the technology. It's the interest of what AI is doing on this platform. It'll be interesting to see what it's going to do in the future on other platforms. Adobe are building it into some of their software, so that's going to be really interesting to see how we can take something that is pretty good, and the AI is going to massage it for us and make it better automatically, I guess. But no, I mean, I have 3 kids and I shoot lots of photos of my kids. I apologize to everybody on social media for that. But having one device that can do just about everything means I don't have to go and run and get a different camera to shoot something else, which I'm often doing at home. And so just that in general, being able to shoot 4K, all those different range of shots I can get across the board. 50x is a great marketing tool. I'm not sure in the real world how usable it is, because we start to get noise and the image starts to degrade, but there's workarounds for that. And again, this is just step one in this process. 2 years from now, I am sure that we'll be in a whole different space in relation to hardware and software and AI and how they play together and how they allow us to create much more compelling, interesting, superior imagery with these devices that fit in our back pockets.
So that was the conversation from Richard. Where does it end? It ends with him saying, essentially, he would own one of these.
Yeah.
And he was really happy with it.
And it's interesting, right? That's the shift, isn't it? We've always said you've reached a point now where forget what you're kind of used to from the actual look and feel of a phone.
Yeah.
It's down to Android or kind of Apple, right?
Yeah.
That's really what it is, and a lot of people make decisions based on that. So, yeah, I think you said obviously about the walled garden of Apple is something that he highlighted as well, right?
And that's what he was all on about. He was going on about that. But, at 3,400 dirhams, this phone clocks in at. It's a lot of change.
Yeah.
He said he's interested in what things are going to be happening with mobile phones and photography in 2 years' time. He thinks we might truly be beyond carrying around a DSLR. We might truly be beyond having a second camera. Your phone will be that camera.
I think for most people it is.
Yeah.
I think for regular folk, I've long said to you that you obviously you appreciate photography and you have a hand to it. I'm complete novice. So for me, that is where I hold my memories on my phone. It's not. I think the last camera I had was a Sony Cybershot.
Wow.
Like the Cybershot ones, and great camera, loved it, fantastic. But when you look at that now compared to what you can do with this, it's it's wildly different, right?
I my last vacation, I didn't take the DSLR. I didn't take it.
That's right. Yeah.
No DSLR. So when you
start hashtag no DSLR.
No DSLR. So when you start looking at that, and when you throw in on this phone, I'm getting the on the P30 Pro.
You drunk the Kool-Aid.
With the plus 50 zoom, you don't have to go up 50 times zoom, but even being able to take it up 20 times.
Yeah.
Wow, it's not bad.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was, I tested it at the shop.
Yeah.
Well, I was at the Huawei offices, and I'm looking down on Atlantis 50 times zoom, and I'm going, man, as long as you keep it steady, it's a clear shot.
Yeah, really.
I could see people down at the Mina Siahi.
Right.
I could see the people getting out of their cars.
Wow.
I could see their faces.
The newspaper.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I'm going, that's spooky.
Yeah.
Who needs that feature? But it could be... And
spooky in your hands when you're zooming people in and around by the pool.
Well, Richard took a shot of the moon, the last shot he took, and it was spectacular because it was just of the moon, but he had it at 50 times zoom.
Okay.
And it's a little blurred, and it's a little, there's a little ghosting around it, and it looks
you can see the seas and everything.
It's spectacular.
Wow, okay.
And you're thinking, I said, what filters you use? That's just the phone.
Yeah.
That is coming straight off the phone.
That's it. Atmosphere, there's the filter.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So it's kind of neat. So,
cool.
2 thumbs up from him. I think it's a great deal. And if you're looking for an Android product, like I said, I've drunk the Kool-Aid. I use a Huawei. I would absolutely buy this. If you have the P20 Pro or if you have the Mate Pro, do you need to go to the 30 Pro? It's got the better chip. It's got the camera. The camera is a thing. Maybe. That might be actually something
enough to make you jump, right?
Yeah, it might be. I think the challenge that Huawei is facing is they're falling into a little bit of that trap, was they're going to continue to bring out a new phone every 6 months. So they've got the Mate series, they've got the Pro series, and the P series. So I guess a P40 is in the works at some point.
Yeah, it's similar to kind of the S series with Samsung and the Note series, right?
So
they
got 2 coming out every 6 months. A new one comes out, and with the P30, the one thing I'm not sure about, and I don't know if they're testing something, but it's got the beveled screen. Doesn't do anything, but the screen kind of goes right over the side, like the old Samsungs used to do
with the edge.
Yeah, but there's no edge, but it goes over the edge, and I kind of went, why does it do this? I don't see the purpose. I don't get it. So I'm thinking maybe there's something they're going to unload on it later, and they're trying that out. One thing I want back is the headphone jack. I got no love of the dongle situation where if I
think it's just the width of the phone, though, isn't it? That's what they're trying to... Because otherwise, ultimately, you can only ever go as thin as... Well, I mean, you can go as thin as a USB-C now. That's pretty much how thin you can go if you want to, right? Interestingly enough, we found a situation last week where borrowed someone's car and wanted to kind of, have the Spotify playlist on, and had to run around to Carrefour and everything to get a dongle and a jack.
Well, that's it. I carry all that stuff. I got all the dongles now. I got all the tools.
Oh, I've lost 3 of them though.
Yeah.
The iPhone dongle, I've lost 3 of them. It's super tiny.
Oh, here's a good one.
Yeah.
I'm coming into the Google Home era. I got a Google Home Mini.
Oh,
well, I don't have it yet.
Oh, okay.
No. So this is the thing. I needed to get a dongle for my wife's older MacBook Air to connect to HDMI.
Okay.
So a Thunderbolt connector.
Yes.
So I have one, and we've been using it, but those connectors you put in and put in, it wears out. Yeah. So we need a new one. So I went to Virgin.
Okay.
Thought, okay, I'll go there. And we took a look on the shelf and did this, and then I saw.
You get you down at our lane center.
Oh, hold on, it gets better. So then I see the Mini there, and I'm thinking maybe it's time. So we're looking at it. My wife's going, "Why aren't we just buying one?" Yeah. I'm going, and she goes, "But we look at the bottom, and I don't know, 159 dirhams or something." I'm going, "It's not bad." Yeah. So we're standing there. The sales guy's looking at us. He's giving us the thing, and then we kind of go online, and now we know that Souk.com is now Amazon.
Yeah.
And so we go on Amazon, and the same dongle and the Mini in orange is costing me half the price of what I'm going to buy for it in the store.
Boom.
And delivery today.
Yeehaw.
And I'm going, well, why are we walking out of the store with these things when we can just get it delivered tomorrow because we don't need it tonight? And it's like, ooh. And so we're both walking out of the store going, well, why would anyone be buying anything in these stores where you're spending 50% more in some cases, and you could just get it delivered to your house?
Yeah.
Like the retail market's going to die.
Yeah, it's look, I think it's probably a question that people ask themselves all the time at the moment where we're building malls and everyone's kind of making that transition to online.
And I'm like a holdout because I love going into the store. And even
I love going to the store. I mean, I think I told you a story of when Amit and I were in the US, and the very first time we bought a Google Home and an Alexa was in Best Buy. Yeah. But we went online, we had a look at how much it was going to cost, we did reviews, and ended up buying it there because the price comparison was nominal. It's rare, I mean, to find a huge gap like that. I'll be honest. To find, such a vast gap is
like the same product. $159 on the shelf, $30 online. Same product. And they didn't have the orange Mini. I want the orange one.
30 dirhams for a Google Mini.
No, it cost me no. For a Mini, it was 100 dirhams.
Okay. I was going to say, for 30 dirhams, you might find a Google with 3 O's.
So no, but I'm the last guy who, I mean, I've been talking about this forever.
Yeah. It's like me and my watch.
Yeah, but it's just kind of the point where I said, you know what, I want to be able to connect my Spotify in. I want to be able to come home and say, play the.
You'll love it. Honestly, once you have it now, and you will have today, you'll be like, why don't I do this before?
I'm going to want one in every room. I could
probably, because you can, set them up in multiple rooms, and if you're upstairs and listen to something different and So you'll love it for sure.
So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, and you, all your Canadian, because you listen to Canadian radio quite a lot, so it's all on TuneIn.
I'm listening to CBC every day. That's all CBC, I listen to. I listen to
So I mean, you got the opportunity to just kind of listen to that whenever you want as well. Exciting. I mean, it's the one I think that gets played the most in our house is probably the one in the kitchen.
Yeah,
it's kind of, I don't know, it's one of those things where there's always a radio on in the background. I tend to listen to ESPN Sports quite a bit on that, just kind of in the background. Did
you see that Raptors replay of them against the Toronto Raptors basketball?
I didn't see it.
Oh man, you got to take that one up because they've gone on to the
they're in the NBA playoffs,
the Eastern Conference.
Oh
finals.
Right, okay.
And it was a 90-90 score.
Really,
buzzer beater. It's in the air.
Nice.
It doesn't go right into the hoop though. It bounces twice before it goes in.
Is this college or is this
no,
NBA?
Yeah, NBA.
Right. Okay.
NBA.
Raptors. Who did they beat?
Got me.
Tuesday screaming. Are you a Maple Leafs guy as well?
I do like the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Really? Eh?
I mean, I'm not a big basketball fan, so I'm not watching basketball, so I just saw it on the sports thing.
Yeah, sure.
But I think they're going to be playing. Either they played or they're going to be playing the Bucks
Okay.
I don't know. You know what? Whoever's the league leader in the NBA, that's
Warriors, isn't it?
That's who they're going up against. So, just doing a quick online search.
Yeah, I
because
just have a quick online search.
you can see that they never invited me to do any sports shows anywhere.
That's it. Yeah. Raptors here. Next game.
Next game, yeah. There we
Next
go.
game is Milwaukee Bucks.
There we go. So they're playing the Bucks. So I don't know who they
Bucks.
played, and the Bucks are like top of the league. So.
Yeah, crazy game winner, game 7 against 76ers.
Yeah, there we go. That's it.
Yeah,
76ers.
Nice.
Yeah, game 7, last second they were tied. Can you imagine? That was not even in their home court. So I thought
That's 1990. Here it is.
Yeah.
You can see it.
You got to watch that.
This is great podcasting when I'm just sitting here watching
You're
a video.
You're watching
You can't tell me stuff like this and then, oh man, twice and a row.
Yes.
Jesus, that's crazy,
Isn't it? And it's just like
nice.
it goes into the air as the buzzer goes.
Yeah.
So it's just like that could have gone the wrong way.
Could have gone the wrong way. Yeah.
So that was just woo-hoo.
Sweet.
Yeah, that was neat. But there we go. So the other thing so we got lots going on.
Yeah. So you've got this. It's coming today, right?
Yeah.
So we'll get a review next week. Yeah.
Oh, possibly. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, you'll have a week of it playing with it and setting it
I
up. I mean, it's really super easy.
I'm figuring it's gonna, and because I use everything Google anyway, boom, it should be just right there.
Straight away.
So I'm looking forward to it. Really looking forward to it. And
Nice.
But it's that other side of things. It's everything these days is a dongle. You need dongles.
That's it. Yeah. I mean,
I walk around with a bag of dongles now. I got
Steady.
HDMI.
Oh, yeah. I was at an office the other day and I was very impressed because they literally had a suite of dongles on the desk, and it was basically, I think the owner clearly was a Mac guy, and it was because you rock up places and it's like, oh yeah, I carry everything around as well in my bag as well. It's funny. I went to a meeting the other week and somebody had a VGA.
Yeah, I got
like,
one of those too.
I haven't got one.
I
of
got a
them anymore.
dongle for that.
No, I've thrown them away. I'm like, no, you're good. I'm not going to carry around a VGA as well.
I have my VGA dongle.
Nice.
Can you imagine? It's insane. The number. I've now got a toiletry bag that you would use.
You know what I use? I
chargers.
use an Emirates toilet bag.
There you go.
And then you get on the plane. That's what I've got.
You have to. It's insane.
That's it, yeah. It's
I don't get it. What's going on with all this?
Yeah, it's very strange.
Anyway, I sent you a message today about WhatsApp, and there was a message about viruses that they detected a virus could be sent to WhatsApp through a missed WhatsApp call.
Yeah.
I'm going, get out of here.
Scary stuff, right?
Yeah. I mean, I thought it must be a joke.
No, I mean, I think there is. You can just receive an email in your inbox now. Yeah. So let alone click on anything. You can just receive an email in your inbox. And the fact that you've got a preview pane, right, where you preview the message, that can actually interfere and release a virus on there as well.
I mean, this is getting out of control. Suddenly my computer can be infected, my phone.
Yeah.
And I remember years back, Jeff Price, he was going through a period where every 3 months his phone was getting destroyed by a virus.
Really?
And I'm thinking, how is this possible?
Jeff Price on the radio?
Yeah.
Every
3 months.
Yeah, really, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know. It's almost, we've spoken about this before, I think, but you kind of have this attitude, one, as a Mac owner, that you don't need antivirus, and then two, as a phone on an Apple device, going back to the walled garden, they look after everything. So why would I need it?
Exactly.
But you're still going on websites, you're still opening emails, you've still got WhatsApp, Telegram, all of these things where there's a potential for kind of viruses to live. I mean, you just wouldn't know what to do, right? Yeah. That kind of spinning screen of death as it is.
Yeah,
it's there, you're done. That's it, yeah.
Dropped one of my phones the other day.
Yeah, I did a beautiful drop on my old BlackBerry, and it landed. It landed perfectly on the ground. Boom, but it sounded all right. Turned it over. No,
so I dropped my old Sony.
Right,
exactly the same, right onto a set of tiles, flat, and everyone's lifted it up. Good as gold.
Really? Huh?
I was like,
it's black, and I don't know where I'm going to get this BlackBerry fixed because it's BlackBerry, right? So. As it is, trying to get, I had to order a case for that thing from the States. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it fixed. But anyway.
Star Wars Lego Droid Kit teaches coding with R2-D2's help. I'm in.
This is great, isn't it?
This is amazing.
I kind of came across this. I thought this was fantastic. I'm really interested. Obviously, having a young son and daughter, I'm interested in that coding element, and kind of potentially how. What's interesting, I tell you, and you'd be able to tell me more about this. It's a slight tangent, but they're saying in the States now that they're doing away in a lot of schools with remembering dates.
Yeah.
So, 1066, like Hastings, you don't need to know it, right? Because you can Google it.
Right.
You don't need to know certain arithmetic because you can Google it, right?
Yeah. Scary, actually.
Worrying, I thought, but that's perhaps just because I've grown up in an environment where you have to remember dates, right? Yeah. But it's saying just because effectively when they're older, they're not going to need to know because they're going to be wearing glasses or a contact lens that's there. So it's more about not the dates, but learning about what happened and why it happened.
Well, and
versus recognition, versus just verbatim, right?
Which
happened,
which is, and I totally get that because I experience that all the time in higher education.
Yeah.
It's like I don't need you to tell me about the cybercrimes law in the UAE. I need you to tell me how it applies to things and what the implications are and what you need to be doing. And so that in that sense it works very, very similar. You don't need to know that it was published in 2012. No. You need to know how it works because you can look up the name and the published date.
But I mean, going back to the kind of Lego, this is Star Wars Lego droid that you can build and then you can basically program it. I mean, I think this is fantastic. It's
a big carrot. It's a nice carrot.
Totally. This is more of that when we were kids doing the circuit boards, having fun with that. I mean, now this kind. I can't imagine when I was kind of my son's age to build my own R2D2, and then actually program it to do things.
I know
it's super cool.
That could take days. And I wonder if it's a gateway product as well, because once you've got a little hang of this coding, do you then want to learn a little bit more coding?
Yeah, completely.
And do they have a phase 2 where you can actually make it do more stuff because you're programming literally at a more basic level? I thought, this could be fun.
No, it's great. I mean, look at potentially hacking it. I mean, like you say,
encourage
looking at
the
other things to looking at other things to do. I thought this was really cool, and it also goes to show how there's that transition from just toys for toys' sake, and then kind of learning toys, but they're fun at the same time. I mean, you're learning coding, you're learning building. Robotics, all rolled into play, basically, which is very cool.
September 1, 2019 global release.
That's right. Just in time for
I wonder how much this is going to cost.
Christmas. I don't think it's too. I mean, what I've thought interesting as well. I mean, is just the way that Lego's evolving as a product. Because it's a Lego product. So you and I were playing with Lego, 30 years ago, right?
Yeah.
But it was Lego Space, and I remember when Lego Technic first came in.
Do you remember Bionicles as well?
Yeah, and you had like the pistons and with the air, and you could see how an engine would move and maneuver.
And I think they still sell those Lego robots.
I think they do, but that was revolutionary.
Yeah.
Whereas now, you kind of code in your own kit.
Yeah,
exciting stuff, really.
Really, really neat.
And I mean, the kids are used to having an iPad. They've got an iPad. There's an app for it, so you've got the app, and then you do the coding through the app. I mean, it's still
it also works. It works Android as well, so they've covered both bases,
totally.
Which I think is super.
That's it, not just for Apple family kids.
Yeah. No, I think there's a lot of opportunity, and I think it's just kind of cool. It's just really cool.
Yeah.
The other thing that you fired in here is a spectacular drawing machine.
This is kind of like an adult's toy.
This is kind of weird, actually.
Yeah.
But pretty impressive. A device that literally turns your walls into a work of art, and you kind of program it in, and away it goes and draws the murals on your wall. Yeah,
I mean, so this is interestingly enough, it's a Kickstarter, right? So it's from Kickstarter originally. And basically they've raised 1.6 million already. You tap these two little kind of nails in, and then it uses those as a guide and takes about 5 minutes to create a drawing. So you kind of load in these pens and pencils, and then it can go through, and they've shown some stuff on glass and some other bits. I just thought it was super cool. $450 that it will cost you. I mean, I imagined the what do you call it? Trade shows. I thought this would be pretty cool. Like at a trade show, you could put up all your artwork on the side of the wall, or even kids' rooms. Putting up all, and interestingly enough, the same thing that kind of puts it up also removes it as well. Yeah. So you can put it up and then it will remove it in 5 minutes if you want as well, which is quite fun.
I thought that was really, and I think that was for me was the takeaway there, that I could use this to put up something on a wall for students, or if we're having a meeting.
It'd be great, wouldn't it, for one of your lectures to 5 minutes before class just have that thing drawing away, and then here we are, boom, it's kind of there,
and then I can take it away, because that's the thing. If you got to leave it there, it's like
exactly. Drawing on walls at the university is probably not a good thing, right?
Yeah, we're gonna have a problem then.
Exactly.
Oh man, but that's okay. That makes it cool. I mean, that's the whole other side. There's just, I mean, this is Kickstarter stuff.
Yeah.
Jatton, we haven't had it.
Chit's still on there, still getting those Kickstarter things coming through. It's daily.
I don't hear anyone talking about Kickstarter anymore, though. I wondered if Kickstarter had sort of become passé, but
no, I think that they had some pretty big negative press, didn't they?
Yeah.
Where some of these things that got activated didn't come to fruition. So basically it was okay, what is it? 10 years, that was it. Sorry, I was trying to get it back, but it's 10-year anniversary for Kickstarter.
Yeah.
So the thing is that they had some negative press last year.
It's only 10 years.
Only 10 years. They had some negative press last year, and I think that kind of probably played into some of how you kind of think it's not there. But I mean, it's grown so much. You've got they kind of break it out. I don't know if you've been there lately, but you've got art.
Not at all.
You've got art, comic and illusion, design and tech, film, food and craft, games, music, and publishing. Wow. So there's a whole host of different categories now associated to this.
Publishing.
Yeah, publishing is on there as well.
What's in publishing?
Publishing, you've got, let's have a look. The future of publishing. Digital conference about the future of publishing. There's a whole host of different things that can associate from that side of things. So I think it's moving into more of a community.
You know what? It sounds to me like it's matured.
Yeah, it has. Yeah, I think it's moved away from, hey, look at this. This is a waterproof shoe to kind of more of community stuff from that side of things. So yeah, I mean, I think that's it. It's I mean, they've even got toys on here, for example. They do, a whole bunch of different toys and all this kind of stuff. So, yeah, I mean, it's still, I don't know, still valid. I think people are doing small runs of things and, still throwing things out there.
Because to me, that's what Kickstarter was all about. Yeah. It's kind of like, hey, we're going to try and get a working prototype that we're going to give you guys away for getting involved. And here you go. It's going to be really cool.
That's it. You can be a T-shirt or you could be part of it or whatever. Yeah.
That sounds a little more mainstream.
Yeah. So you're going to ignore it now?
Yeah, it's way too mainstream for me. Hey, you guys are still doing a whole bunch with Google.
Yes, yeah. We do. We're kind of premium partners with those boys now. So
what's that mean when you're a premium partner?
It basically means that. What does it mean? It means that we have some cool stuff. So it means that we have access to some funky stuff, tools that kind of get pre-release and beta versions of for advertisers. Okay. It allows us access to their development hub in Europe. It gives us. We go to conferences and seminars that are kind of exclusive to Premier partners. So, and more importantly, they're building a community. So myself and kind of the guys and other agencies of similar size, from a client perspective, get to meet, talk, bounce through ideas, what's working, what's not working.
Understand how the metrics are coming about.
Yeah, so it's really kind of, they're trying to build a community across the Middle East, really, which is quite exciting from that side of things. So yeah, I mean, it's we had an event with them last month, which was good fun, up at the, what do you call it, Motor City, which was really cool. So we ended up changing tires on a Formula One car, that one of those events. But so it was cool and kind of gave us access to some of those things. So yeah, it's exciting times, but it's a huge organization. I think when
giant.
When you start kind of talking to them and talk to them at a very personal level, be it your account manager or whatever, and then you kind of realize the sheer scale of it. It's quite surprising. Yeah. And I guess that kind of leads us into the news of the privacy part, right?
Well, the privacy part and the role that they play with advertisers and their algorithms and how they can, one little change in that algorithm has a huge change in the way we're going to see information, the way information is being delivered to us. But again, back to the privacy stuff and just the conversation at the very beginning talking Huawei, Google collects a lot of information.
Well, Google collects a countless amount of information. I think the interesting thing is that with this announcement, they basically said that within a browser environment, you're going to be able to pretty much personalize who sees what and when, which is a real challenge because obviously
I want to know how they're going to do that.
The advertising industry has built up now to a point where they're offering highly personalized adverts, right?
Yeah.
So based on your search history, based on your interests, it's quite interesting. I mean, interestingly enough, on the Google thing, on the back of your recommendation, I was traveling last week and in a different country, and I kind of I was at breakfast, and I'm trying to step away a bit from social at the moment, but I wanted to read something, and I didn't have any papers there, so I downloaded Google News.
There you go.
And interestingly enough, it went, okay, log in as myself, obviously, and boom, it just completely populated, all of the news that I would be interested in, from various sources. So this is sources that, funnily enough, I never read, like Washington Post. I do read the New York Times occasionally and pull stories from the New York Post, but Washington Post I very rarely do. But that was there, and CNN, and kind of US centric, because it said we think you're interested in X. But that was all based on browsing history. It was all based on what I've been doing from a browser. So when you start to get in this, you're not letting the advertiser or the platform know anything about you. That's a challenge,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I
think there's two sides to that, right?
Do you have ad blockers on and things like that, or no?
Yes.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay. Why? Because I mean, I don't. So I'm just interested to know.
I think I have got two different browsers I use, and one has them on just because I find them distracting.
Okay.
And the other one doesn't. And I use one and one without. And sometimes I don't mind the ads being there.
Right.
And I just kind of don't even pay really attention to them. And then other times I do. And for the reason to put it on was just the pure distraction.
Right,
so, and honestly, sometimes I'm using the browser at school, at work, on a whiteboard.
Fair enough.
I don't want to have the ads going on the side because I don't know.
You don't know what they're going to be doing.
Yeah,
exactly.
And 99% of the time they're A-okay, but I don't want it to come up with something that could be, a Bubbles brunch or something, which might be inappropriate to my students.
Yeah. And there's a lot of that, especially when it comes to the alcohol side of things. They, a lot of companies are doing that, and they're not doing it properly in the sense that they're trying to do age restriction and stuff like that. So you're right in doing that. Yeah.
So, but overall, I mean, it's a big challenge. But this is how we forget that this is a big piece of what Google does. It collects this information.
Yeah, it collects this information. I mean, they just have tremendous control on certain things. I mean, if you look at Facebook, you look at Instagram. The same sort of thing. I mean, an algorithm change can destroy lives.
Yeah.
They had there was a class action lawsuit against Google, and it still might be going on, when they changed the algorithm going back nearly 3 years, I think.
I remember that. We
were talking about it at the time. Yeah. I mean, overnight,
changed everything.
Businesses just completely lost everything.
Yeah, they went from being top rated to gone.
Exactly. And look, going back to Yellow Pages days, right?
Yeah.
If you kind of removed your ad from the Yellow Pages back in the day, it was amount to business suicide because everyone thought you closed down.
And I remember the days of when we used to wait for those Yellow Pages. I used to buy stuff based on the Yellow Pages.
Yeah, of course. Because I mean that was the Google of the day, right? That was the Google of the day. If I wanted to, especially if I was in a strange town.
I'm trying not to laugh, remembering, waiting for the new Yellow Pages came. We got the new Yellow Pages. It'd be the size of it's like giant. I was like 5 inches. And
well, I remember when we'd be in the States, and going and staying in a villa, and they're on holiday. The first thing we do is open up the Yellow Pages and kind of spin through, as a kid, and say, okay, look at this restaurant. This looks pretty cool. As that kind of stuff. So it's.
I forgot how reliant
Google
we were
of its day.
Yeah.
That's it.
Now it's like now you're looking at TripAdvisor.
Yeah. There's a whole host of different things. Google reviews, TripAdvisor.
Yeah. So I hit both of those. I hit Google reviews. What's kind of, and they've gamified it a little bit with Google is, do you ever load photos up?
Yes.
So me too. And so they'll send me these messages. You've had 5 million viewers to your photos that you've loaded. I'm just like, wow.
I've started writing reviews on Booking.com.
Yeah. Okay.
And I get treated differently by hotels.
So I do them. I do.
Genuinely.
I actually don't do that on booking. I do it all on TripAdvisor.
Yeah.
And
I make all my bookings through Booking.com.
Okay, so
direct to the hotel.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I absolutely like writing the reviews, and I write nice, honest reviews. I'm not slagging people, but if there's there's places where it wasn't I stayed at a Hilton that was okay, but I don't think it was correctly depicted in the Hilton site, and compared to some of the Hiltons I'd stayed at, it wasn't. I just didn't think it was up to snuff.
Yeah.
And so I wrote. I said, look, would I stay here again? Yeah. Did I? But now I know coming in what to expect.
Yeah.
Is it the best product that I've stayed in country? No.
Yeah.
And I explained why. And they wrote back and said, hey, you know what? Thank you very much for your comments.
That's it. Yeah.
Really appreciate that. This will be very useful for us as we talk about some of the things we're doing within the organization.
Yeah, exactly. We're changing and all that kind of stuff.
And would people stay there based on my review? Probably. I mean, but I think it's less. I'm going to write a bad review so I get a better price. I want to write a review so that people know what they can get. And if you're just the person who's whinging and complaining all the time, no one's going to read your reviews.
No, it's interesting. I got a gem of an information from a review I read the other week. It was a brand new hotel, and they were like, listen, no one knows where this hotel is. No one at the airport, none of the cab drivers. So say it's next to Ibis. And that was it. I got in, I tested it, and I got in the cab, and I was like, hey, Hilton Garden Inn. They're like, huh? What? I was like, next to the Ibis. Oh, okay, yeah, cool. And then every single cab I jumped in next to Ibis, and everyone knew it. So it gives you those kind of little gems. Because Hilton are never going to write on their own website,
no,
we're next to Ibis.
Never.
I mean, it's not like, listen, no one knows us yet because we're new. We've only been open 1 month, but say we're next to Ibis. So it's cool. You get those gems. Yeah. But going back to information that we share, right? I mean, it knows that you write TripAdvisor reviews. It knows that I go to Booking.com. Booking.com knows what I'm searching if I don't complete a transaction,
Well, that's the thing. What's the one I get? I get a lot from Travelocity, maybe.
Yeah.
And because I've gone and looked at this, that, and the other thing, now I get my email updates saying, hey, you looked at this. Maybe
that's right,
And
it's a huge part of what we do when we're going and talking to clients and prospects. The fact is that there is technology out there now, and people don't realize it. They kind of, we'll say to them, "Oh, look, when you see that ad, well, how does that work?" Because I was thinking about flying to Paris, and then, I did a search, but then a couple of days later, I saw on Facebook there was an ad for Paris, and and what is that, magic? No, I mean, there's obviously, data and there's technology behind it that drives it, right? And automates it. More importantly, so it's not a physical person that's doing it. I mean,
I get that. I get that with the apps that I'm looking at. So I'll be reading the Toronto Star, and the ads that are coming up are all for the UAE. They're all for Dubai, and they're all based on things that I've been looking at. Yeah, exactly. Which is kind of spooky and cool at the same time.
Yeah. What interesting enough, where algorithms potentially can kick in and go wrong is Liverpool have gone through to the Champions final in obviously English Premier League, and there's a huge Liverpool supporters club here, and a lot of them are going to be flying over. It's Madrid. The finals in Madrid. I should know this, but I'm pretty sure it's Madrid. So within a short period of time, something close to 350 people searched and booked on Emirates to fly to Madrid. Now, the price for an economy ticket shot up to 24,000 dirhams. Now, that wasn't Emirates making that choice. It wasn't them rubbing their hands going, yee-haw. There's an algorithm, right? There's a, hold on a minute, there must be something here. We've got to try and, work it out. So the algorithm kicked in and started whacking all the pricing up, which is interesting, right? So all of that, again, is automation, right? And automated through to get through that.
I always wonder when I'm looking for things, am I looking from the same computer, if I go to a different browser, if I go to a different IP to look at something, am I going to get different prices? I suspect probably I would.
I mean, it's difficult really because devices in your own house are all coming through one connection.
So you got to get on a different IP.
I mean, if you do Office, bear in mind if you open the same browser and say you're still kind of all connected in. So I mean that's why when you go on your browser sometimes at home and then you go on on your desktop and you go on your phone, you get kind of similar stuff. So it's all there from that side of things.
If I get rid of the cache, does that help or not really?
If you get rid of cache, if you remove history, if you remove browsing, but I mean
every time
and things like that is a bit more intelligent. They're looking at IPs basically, and then determining that. But I mean I think with a lot of these things, especially when you look at airlines, a lot of the time it's sale time and booking months in advance is when you get the best deals.
And just getting lucky. I mean, sometimes they just have a one, a one day. You go on and it's like, for 5 hours we're going to be giving away these enormous prices.
Or you go to something like a Skyscanner. Or something like that kind of pulls all the cheapo air and stuff like that pulls in all of these flights for you and then matches that alternatively for you,
Speaking of Google, there's another piece, and do you ever look at the Think with Google stuff, which is basically okay. There you go.
Yeah.
Did you see the one about the MENA foodies engage with YouTube? And I just totally. I mean, when we talk YouTube and food stuff, the UAE is a world leader. MENA world leaders in the number of people who are heading to YouTube to look at food stuff. Like unbelievable.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I mean, there's some weird dynamics going on in this part of the world where things like Deliveroo, this is a real hotbed for food delivery services. So even here we are in Ramadan. And it's kind of zero impact for the people that are not fasting, right? Because you've got Deliveroo, Talabat, all of these guys coming through,
I got to read this stat here for a second. It says their research shows that foodie, the word, is so widely used, in fact, that 50% of millennials identify themselves as such. In 2017, YouTube saw 7 billion food video views in the Middle East, with this figure growing by 138% year on year.
Yeah, the interesting thing is as well, we talk a lot, and I do myself, and I'm guilty of it, so I'll put my hand up. When we're out there in the market, we talk about people's attention span. Yeah. But the interesting thing with some of this data is I was saying, especially in Saudi Arabia, they're looking for long-form content. Yeah. So 50% of the top videos views were 10 minutes or longer.
I know.
Which is quite interesting.
Isn't that interesting?
I think what you find, though, with the millennial stuff as well is they do tend to have things running multiply. Yeah. So you'll see them playing on the Switch and having a YouTube video running at the same time. Yeah. Which is... I mean, just an absolute waste of electricity. But I mean, it's still there,
Yeah, it's happening. Hey, you were out in Havel. I saw some images.
Havel.
How was it?
I was. Yeah, I was out in a Havel last week actually. Yeah, we had it for a couple of days to play around with. Decent bit of kit. Yeah, really decent bit of kit.
How was the tech on that thing?
It was good. It was good fun actually. I mean, it was all belled and whistled up. It kind of had everything you would want. I think from an interior perspective, it felt more like I'd say kind of Toyota Prada, that kind of, but top of the line.
Price point's pretty sweet too.
Yeah, it's crazy, 109,000. I mean, it's like a throwaway, price. It's that was the H9 that was playing around with, and I think we should get the H6, so I think we're going to probably do 3 dudes in a car.
Oh,
for that.
Can't wait for that.
Car, yeah, so
can't wait for that.
That'll be, I mean, tech wise, it's kind of it's interesting really because I'd taken an aux cable. Because I just naturally in my head I thought, okay, I'll plug in. But no, plugged in straight away with the iPhone and boom, okay, yep, you've got an iPhone and here's a touch screen. So do you want to play your podcast? So you want to play your Spotify or whatever? So yeah, I mean, it's a decent bit of kit. They've got all of that in there, from that side of things. I mean, the Haval H9 is the most popular SUV in the world. Really? Because in China, it's number 1, right? And obviously just from a sheer number size. Yeah. And you can see why. It's quick as well as I think a 2.6 or 2.4 V6. Nice. Lifted, pulled well.
Decent fuel economy?
Yeah. There's no hassle. And I mean, interestingly enough, the driving out, I was like, I can't believe it. This thing hasn't got cruise control. And but as I jumped out of the gas station, the cruise, I think it was hidden. So there's a tiny little bar underneath well, not underneath, but as part of the back of the steering wheel. So that was the only thing.
So you found it.
But yeah, found everything kind of straight away. So yeah, decent bit of kit.
I think it's amazing, at top of the line, but really affordable vehicle. Yeah. And it is fully kitted out just like you're driving anything. Yeah, it's got all the tech, it's got all the bells and whistles, and just it makes it so easy.
Yeah. I mean, anything that I would say, obviously, because I mean, I think you had the Lincoln Nautilus.
We did have the Nautilus.
And I think we've got a podcast up for that now as well, haven't we?
Has it gone up yet?
Oh, yes. Yes. And having a Lincoln MKX, I'd say that Apple Play on there now is phenomenal. Yeah. That's a real game changer. I'd actually look for a vehicle that had Apple integration now. You know, because of the maps, because of the just the sheer kind of connectivity angle.
It makes it really easy.
It
makes it really easy.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
that's the key.
Yeah, it's nice. But you like the Nautilus, right?
It was.
Is the Nautilus replacement for MKX?
Yes.
So
it's the next way around, and it's nice. It was really nice. It wasn't a, you know, we're talking another 100,000 plus from what you were driving.
Right. Yeah.
You know, 264,000 dirhams. But we were driving top of the line.
But it's an MX. It's a mid-range SUV.
Yeah. 5-seater.
Yeah.
And it was pretty spectacular.
Yeah.
I mean, this was, you know, 2.7 liter, 335 horsepower, give or take, and twin turbo.
Nice.
But you get into it, and I think Glenn summed it up, and you got to go listen to that. It's in the Car Clinic, actually, where we put that podcast.
Oh, okay.
But you got to go listen to it. In fact, I think it is it's the current Car Clinic that's up right now. So that's
okay. That's what me getting confusing. I thought you'd done 2 dudes in a car.
Yeah. Well, we did call it 2 dudes in a car, the Car Clinic. 2 dudes minus 1 in an Nautilus.
Brilliant.
And he got in, and I still think this quote has got to be the one that's got to be played over and over again. He says, you know, this car reminds me of those old roller ads, the Rolls-Royce ads, where they said the loudest thing in this car is the clock.
Right,
and we're in the car, and it is so quiet, and I'm moving the seat back, and that's loud in the car because it's just nothing, and it's running, and the AC's going, and you hear nothing.
Yeah,
it was great. It was
I guess that's what. Actually, we ought to get Amit on for 3 guys because he went and test drove a Tesla.
Oh, nice.
Model S.
Nice.
Yeah. He went and test drove one about a week ago now.
All right.
Yeah, phenomenal.
Really?
Absolutely.
Well, and I think this is, you know, forget the cars. Elon Musk with his space stuff and the cars and this.
And Bezos with his new
what's land on the moon.
That's it.
I like Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
But I think the piece that I read recently coming from Mr. Musk is his idea of launching these thousands of low altitude satellites to create internet connectivity.
High-speed connectivity.
And I'm thinking, okay, hold on a second.
Yeah.
This guy's got all these things going. This is the gold.
Yeah.
This is the absolute gold.
Yeah, I mean, Facebook started doing that lo-fi stuff, right, in India and Africa.
And Google's got balloons. They got balloons.
Yeah.
Everyone's trying these things.
So they all seem to be, but I guess Elon's probably the only one out of all of them that've got rockets.
Yeah. and they're talking that he's describing them like IKEA flat pack.
Yeah. Just fire them up.
Thousands of them come out of one rocket, and boom.
Yeah.
They unfold, they unflat pack themselves, and they go into low level orbit, and they're affordable, and we can connect the world.
Yeah, I mean that's the interesting thing, isn't it? It's going to be how much does it cost?
Yeah.
Because I mean, I think the thing is, there still are parts of the world that don't have. I mean, look, Africa for sure. Parts of Africa just don't have very good connectivity.
Yeah.
You know, you can barely get a phone signal, let alone any kind of data. You know, what we're used to. From that side of stuff.
And at the price we pay, people aren't going to be paying that in Kenya.
No.
Rural Kenya?
No.
Forget it.
That's it. So it'd be interesting to know what he means by affordable.
Yeah.
You know, is there different price points? I mean, do you pay a flat $10 if you're in Manhattan, you know, and the same in Mogadishu, right?
Yeah.
I mean, is that the way it works? Or do you play a premium because you're in a competitive environment? I mean, who knows? The price of, you know, when you're actually in a kind of competitive environment like the US and the UK or even Europe, and you're not so competitive, I don't think, in Canada, but the price of internet is just ridiculously low now.
Yeah.
I mean, back home, you can get 100 meg for 50 dirhams a month.
That's nothing.
Unlimited.
That's nothing.
So, I mean, when you're in that real kind of open market environment, when you've got loads of competition and they're all trying to kind of fight it out to see who can win your business, that's when you get real kind of economies of scale.
I want to know how these thousands of satellites are going to communicate to each other, because I'm just thinking this is
magic, right?
This is going to be that base station extraordinaire.
Yeah.
Like I want to learn more about that, because I think that's but I guess they've already got they're already testing that. They're able to land the rockets when they come back to Earth.
I don't know if you've heard the Joe Rogan podcast when Elon Musk is on there.
No.
But it's worth listening to.
Okay.
Because Joe Rogan keeps going back to the fact, like, how do you have time?
Yeah.
Because, you know, you've got the Boring Company, which is, you know, building out underground tunnels in Los Angeles. Then you've got SpaceX that's firing rockets and commercializing, you know, making it affordable for space travel. Then you've got Tesla, by the way, you know, pushing that out. Oh, and by the way, why don't we just build a flamethrower? Yeah. You know, and now obviously this kind of whole, you know, kind of connect the world kind of thing. Yeah. So it's interesting how he kind of manages his time and his focus from that side.
I think it's the focus. I mean, how do you you obviously have to have great people working for you so that you can say, okay, run with it, and we'll talk in a week. And I guess all he does is fly around or have them meet up and let's have a chat.
I mean, it's interesting. There's definitely a speed element associated to he operates from the limited conversations that we had in the past with people like in the States at Tesla, and for just reading articles, he really is like, well, let's just do it.
Yeah.
There's no almost operating like a one-man band, but in a corporate environment. Yeah. Where obviously most corporates, hold on a minute, we need to do this, and we need to
let's
do
have a plan and get me the proposal.
But he's like, no, let's do it. And that goes back to the fact, I mean, when they built that, obviously that battery, to power the city in, was it Australia?
Somewhere like that.
New Zealand, where it's just, no, I'll do it, and I'll do it before January, otherwise it'll be free. I mean, that's crazy, right? But it was literally like, okay, bang. But it's having a clash with new kind of corporate culture. Yeah. Because his whole thing is, if you work an extra 10 hours, just work because you've got to get your work done. Yeah. There's the work-life balance. No, life is work and work is life. So, I think something comes at a cost somewhere, right? Yeah, there's always someone that's not as beaming with a smile as much as Elon.
One last thing before we wrap up this 8-track version again. Tamagotchis, the new version's coming. I didn't realize Tamagotchi's been out for 20 years.
Yeah, 20 years worries me.
20 years.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why it worries me more, because 20 years ago, I was even at 20 years ago, I was way too old to have a Tamagotchi.
You had a Tamagotchi.
But I had one. So now, so when this was 20 years, I was like, no, it's got to be 40, right? It's got to be 40. Because I had no business owning a Tamagotchi, and I did.
Are you going to get the new one?
Oh, yeah, of course.
They're like fully integrated now. Wi-Fi'd in. They're like
Wi-Fi'd in. That's it.
They're
Tamagotchi 2.0. Yeah.
They look kind of the same, though.
I mean, they look the same. I guess they now connect with each other, don't they?
Yeah, they can marry.
And, I don't know. It's getting weird. Whole sorts of things, and it's through Bandai America, which we haven't heard from a long time.
No.
But I mean, I don't know. I mean, does this work now? I mean, when you've got a lot of kids 7 years old have a phone now. Yeah. So why would you want the Tamagotchi?
Because it's just going to be cool.
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a whole load of people, again, who are too old for this, but it's quirky.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I've got to feed my Tamagotchi.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I think it's going to be. Hey, I got you a gift. Here's a Tamagotchi.
I got to wonder if I've still got mine somewhere.
Probably.
Yeah. Probably. So, I mean, bearing in mind, I don't throw anything out.
Which you don't want to, because did you see that little piece I put in with the Apple I computer? The first Apple computer cost, when it was being sold, $600. Yeah, it's being auctioned off for $300,000 to $500,000 pounds. Ouch. Top end $649,000 for an original Apple I.
Yeah, but that's, because there's not many of them around. I think I told you I got excited about the fact that Game Boy was 20 years.
That's what I mean, but you hold on to stuff long enough.
Yeah, I suppose so. But you end up paying storage, don't you? Yeah. So it's kind of like. Even some of the Star Wars I've got are quite limited, but limited to the sense that they'll bring me $150.
Well, that's it. We had some stuff with, this is really limited. Looked it up on eBay. It's like, it's not really worth that much, is it?
Exactly. Like, But, there's memories attached to those, right?
Well, my kids got rid of some games. They sold them off when they were young. I said, you really want to sell those? Yeah, I want to get them. I want to make some money. Okay. And then 2 years later, they were looking to buy them again. Yeah. The same ones they owned. They even hit the people they sold them to. The guys are like, can I buy it back off you? No. Okay. Then they're on eBay. They're all over the place.
I've still got all of my original Star Wars, and I've got Star Wars when I went round for the second time round when I was buying them boxed. I've still got all of those as well. That's awesome. But it's out of control now. You can, they're releasing again. I think that's the only thing. Like when we were younger, they released, a line of toys. Yeah. And then it was kind of like that was it. There's the original Star Wars toys. You've got about 25 characters. Yeah. But now, like if someone's on screen for 2 seconds, in the background, it's like, he's got a whole backstory.
It's over the top. My son knows all the backstories too. Well, don't you know this guy and that guy? And it's like, I don't know who you're talking about.
Speaking of backstories, we can't spoil it, but did you go and see Avengers?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, we'll talk about it off air.
Yeah. I got to say, it was okay.
Right. We're not talking about off-air then. Forget it, folks.
On that note, we're going to wrap yet another Tech Talk. This is Tech Talk 20.
Ooh, ouch.
Yeah,
Nice.
this is awesome.
Nice.
A whole bunch more to come. We'll do it all again really soon. Podaholiks is where you find us. Podaholiks with a K at gmail.com if you want to drop us an email. Find us across the socials. Talk to you soon.
Thanks.
You've been listening to Tech Talk, a Podaholiks podcast with Andrew Thomas from digitalnexa.com and myself, James Pikeway. Want to get in touch with us? Podaholiks with a K at gmail.com. Search us out across the socials, Podaholiks with a K. Share the link, tell people about us, and we'll talk to you again really soon. So long for now.